D-Day was 3 weeks ago. Allied troops are fighting their way across Normandy. The war in the Pacific is still raging, and in a converted mountain resort in New Hampshire, 730 delegates from 44 countries have just quietly checked in to redesign the entire world. But they're not here to plan the war, they're here to plan what comes after it, how money works, how countries trade, what gets used as the world's reserve currency, and who controls the institutions that lend to countries in crisis. 3 weeks after stepping foot in that resort, the delegates walk out having created the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and a financial system anchored to the US dollar that still runs the world economy today. This is the story of what went on inside that hotel. The battle between two brilliant and very different visions for the post-war world, a Soviet spy at the centre of it all, and a decision that still controls your bank account. To understand why Bretton Woods happened, you need to understand what the 1930s looked like to the people who lived through them. Unfortunately, the Great Depression wasn't just an economic catastrophe. The delegates at Bretton Woods had watched it turn into a political one too. When the global economy collapsed in 1929, countries did exactly what desperate governments do. They tried to protect themselves at the expense of everyone else. They raised tariffs and devalued their currencies to make exports cheaper, in turn forcing neighbours to devalue too in a race to the bottom. They stopped cooperating entirely, global trade collapsed, unemployment exploded, fascism rose in Germany, Italy and Spain, militarism rose in Japan. The people gathering at Bretton Woods had a working theory about how World War II started. Economic chaos caused political instability. Political instability produced fascism. Fascism produced war. If you wanted to prevent World War III, you had to prevent the next Great Depression. And to do that, you needed a stable international financial system that stopped countries playing beggar the neighbour with their currencies. That was the problem Bretton Woods was built to solve. There were 730 delegates, but 2 men dominated everything. The first was John Maynard Keynes, the most famous economist in the world, head of the British delegation and the architect of what became known as Keynesian economics. He arrived in New Hampshire already seriously ill with heart disease. He was a brilliant and often difficult man, known for intellectual arrogance as much as intellectual brilliance. He died in April 1946, less than 2 years after the conference, having failed to win the argument he came to make. The second was Harry Dexter White. White was an American Treasury official, brilliant, abrasive, and self-made. He grew up in a working-class immigrant family in Boston, clawed his way to a PhD from Harvard and to the heart of the Roosevelt administration. He chaired Commission 1, which dealt with the IMF, the most important piece of the whole architecture. He was the man who designed